Just imagine this for a moment. You're in your garage, the air is crisp, and you turn the key or push the button. And instead of the dull, muted whine of an electric motor, you hear a sound that feels like a rhythmic, high-pitched scream. It's not just a car. It's a machine with a heartbeat. For over a decade, the entire automotive industry told us that this feeling was gone forever. They told us the rotary engine was a technological dinosaur, a fuel-guzzling relic that belonged in a museum right next to the horse and carriage. And honestly, they had the data to back it up. But while the world was busy crowning the battery as the undisputed king of the future, Mazda was doing something absolutely unthinkable. They were building a secret lab, hiring an elite team of 36 mad scientists, and pouring everything they had into resurrecting a ghost. This isn't some corporate PR stunt. This is a full-blown war for the soul of the automobile, and against all odds, they might actually pull it off. To understand why this comeback is shaking the industry, you have to realize that most car companies would never, ever greenlight a dedicated engine department for a design that supposedly has no future. Corporations hate risk, and they hate niche, expensive technology even more. But Mazda isn't playing by the standard corporate rulebook anymore. By giving the RE development group full departmental status, they aren't just dabbling. They are telling the world that they have concrete, production-ready plans. They aren't looking to create a museum piece. They are looking to create a revolution. They're developing modern rotaries that meet Euro 7 standards, integrate into hybrids, and this is the real kicker, run on carbon-neutral fuels. It's a vision that puts the rotary right back into the center of a low-carbon future, but it forces us to ask, is this actually realistic engineering, or is it the ultimate high-stakes gamble? Before we get to how they're fixing the engine, we have to talk about why it was offed in the first place. Back in the 60s and 70s, the Wankel Rotary was the golden child. It was compact, it revved higher than a fighter jet, and it had almost zero vibration. Mazda fell in love with it. But then reality hit. When the oil crisis of the 1970s arrived, the rotary engine's thirst for fuel became a financial liability. Then came the emissions laws. These engines struggled to burn fuel cleanly, churning out pollutants that modern environmental regulators simply wouldn't tolerate. Mazda fought for it, they refined the RX-7, they pushed the RX-8 to the limit, but by 2012, the math just didn't work anymore. The engine was put on a shelf, and the world pivoted to boring, turbocharged four-bangers and silent battery packs. For over 10 years, the rotary was essentially dead. So, how do you take a design that failed every emissions test on Earth and make it pass in 2025? Well, here is the secret most people missed. Mazda already brought the rotary back, they just hid it in plain sight. In 2023, they released the MX-30 EREV, a plug-in hybrid SUV. But here is the genius move. The rotary engine doesn't actually turn the wheels. It acts strictly as a range extender, sitting at a steady, optimized speed to generate electricity. Think of it less like a race car engine and more like a high-tech portable generator. It's compact, smooth, and because it's not being forced to jump from idle to 9,000 revolutions per minute every time you hit a red light, it's actually incredibly efficient. That vehicle was the Trojan horse Mazda needed to keep their rotary engineering knowledge alive and prove to the regulators that the design could be clean. It was the foundation for what came next. When they unveiled the iconic SP concept at the Japan Mobility Show in 2023, it was a massive wake-up call for the entire industry. This wasn't a practical SUV. This was a two-seat, aggressive, low-slung sports car with 370 horsepower. But more importantly, Mazda didn't say, "Here is a cool dream." They said, "We are considering production." That is a massive difference in corporate language. According to internal reports, the engineering work for this powertrain is practically done. The engine is ready. The design is waiting. The only thing left on the table is the business case. So, what exactly did they change under the hood to stop the rotary from being an emissions disaster? The first massive improvement is the hybrid-first architecture. By letting the electric motor handle the torque and the rotary handle the constant velocity generation, they've removed the biggest stress point on the engine. The second piece of the puzzle is carbon-neutral fuel. Mazda is gambling on the idea that if the fuel itself is derived from atmospheric carbon or microalgae, The tailpipe emissions don't count the same way they do for refined gasoline. It's a radical, somewhat controversial strategy, but it's gaining traction as an alternative to the battery or bust mentality. Third, modern tech has simply outpaced the 1990s. With today's advanced catalytic converters and computer-managed combustion, they can burn cleaner than we ever thought possible. And the biggest historical pain point? The apex seals. Historically, these were the pieces that kept the compression inside the combustion chambers, and they wore out constantly. Mazda's new coatings and materials science are light years ahead, finally solving the engine's Achilles heel. But is this actually a smart business move? That is the billion-dollar question. Developing a brand new internal combustion engine from scratch is arguably the most expensive thing a car company can do. Mazda doesn't have the infinite cash reserves of a Toyota or a VW. Every cent they spend here is a cent they aren't spending on their electric vehicle platform. They are essentially betting the farm on the idea that driving emotion, heritage, and character still have a price in a future filled with identical, silent appliances. And they aren't just banking on the car itself. They are branding this as part of a global movement. The Vision RX Coupe concept solidified the message. By using fuel derived from microalgae, an organism that actually absorbs carbon dioxide while it grows, they are trying to rebrand the Rotary as a sustainable lifestyle choice rather than a dirty relic. It's an incredibly bold move, and honestly, it's polarizing. Some critics call it a distraction from the inevitable electric transition, while others see it as the only thing keeping the soul of driving alive. We are seeing other manufacturers like Porsche quietly pouring money into synthetic fuels for the exact same reason. Because a segment of the population will always want that visceral, mechanical feeling of a car that feels like it's alive. Whether Mazda's gamble pays off or not, they've already succeeded in changing the conversation. They've proven that dead technology isn't actually dead. It's just waiting for a better way to exist in the world. And other automakers are watching very closely. If Mazda can turn a profit on a niche, emotional machine like the iconic SP, we might see a wave of other brands jumping back into synthetic fuel combustion engines. It's a fascinating experiment. We are living in a time when most cars are becoming more similar to each other every year. Everything is an SUV, everything is an EV, and everything is focused on maximizing range and minimizing cost. Mazda is taking the road less traveled, betting that some of us want a car with a sound, a character, and a history. Will it remain a niche curiosity in a museum? Or will it become the rebel car of the decade? The engineering is done. The prototypes are driving. The world is watching. And honestly, this is one bet I am incredibly glad they decided to make. Do you think the rotary engine belongs in the past? Or should it be the heart of a new kind of green car? Drop your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up with the story as it hits the production line. We'll be right here covering every step of the return of the legend.